EBS Podcast presents.
Hi, you're listening to the EBS podcast about nanodegrees. My name is Jim and I'm the head of Master Studies here at EBS. So, what is a nanodegree? Well, a nanodegree is a great new way to obtain knowledge or create new skills, which you can either use in your professional life or to become a lifelong learner. Today's nano is the future of work, and we will be talking with Ave, the nano leader. Welcome, Ave, and tell us about your nano.
Thank you. When we think about the nature of work, how we do it, what we do, who we work for, and also where we do it, I'm sure you have kind of noticed as well that these fields have been going through dramatic shifts over the last few decades, from digitalization to automation, the rise of gig and platform work, also kind of increased international mobility, global remote work. We're really seeing radical shifts. And this year, as part of the COVID-19 pandemic, many of these trends have only accelerated even further. And why it is important is that these significant transformations in the world of work, they're bound to have major implications on economies, societies, businesses, as well as in just people's own life experiences. And this is why you really kind of need to understand and address these changes now and really think them through. And this is essentially what the Future Work Nanodegree is intended to do. It is designed in a way to offer students timely insights, how to really thrive in this new era of work. For instance, how to manage workplace practices better, how to kind of increase the resilience of organizations, and also just on how to kind of personally really kind of excel. And the Nanodegrees is comprised of 5 different modules, and it's structured in a way to kind of think about these issues at different levels. So we start by with global issues. So what are the macro trends we see in the future work? We move down to regional level, organizations and businesses, how to kind of implement and what you need to know there. And then to team level as well as personal level. So it's a kind of a holistic approach to the changing world of work.
Okay, so you try to touch upon everything within one course, but that's exactly what we're trying to achieve. So you were already telling about the different levels within your nano. What are the specific modules about? Can you tell us a little bit more about this?
So as I said, it's kind of designed in a way that, of course, a student can take just one single course if they're interested in a different and specific level of changes, but it's kind of designed to look at different aspects of it. So the changing world of work, this kind of starts off this entire course. This focuses on macro trends, what is happening due to automation, robotics, what is happening due to the rise of this kind of platform work, gig work. I'm sure many of us have, noticed this year as well with all these Volt and Bolt workers around us. These are significant changes that have been happening for a while and will continue. The second course, building talent hubs, brings a different nuance to it. Because very often when we think about work, we think that this is something that businesses deal with, but the regional element is hugely important because when it comes to talent and workforce, the kind of saying today is it's not that talent goes to where work is, but work comes where talent is. So it's kind of regions really have to think about the ways how to make themselves competitive. So the second module, building talent hubs, addresses specifically that. Third one, diverse and inclusive organizations, as the title already says, kind of brings the attention to the organizations themselves. So many businesses, they're kind of faced with these challenges like how do we adapt to automation? How do we ensure that our workers and robots work together? But also how to kind of just cope with increasing diversity, that we see more different generations working through together, different cultures. So all these different aspects will be addressed part of that. Next, moving further down the line with the scales, is leading future teams. And I think this is one of these topics which this year has been a kind of a cause of headache for many organizations. So suddenly we have all these like remote teams. How do we cope with them? So this is one of the topics that this level addresses. So essentially, we are kind of expected to work on the team level much more and co-create. But how do you do it if part of the team is remote, part of the team is temporary? So all these topics will be addressed here. But I think the final module really brings it down to the individual level and what we as a person can do. What are the skills we need to acquire to kind of become more resilient, to adapt better? Because I think a lot of these changes, understandably, are a source of major anxiety, and we don't know what to do. So with this course, it brings in kind of behavior change aspects and how to kind of look at these issues better.
Okay, wow. So you really, really touch upon the whole spectrum of
yes,
of
that's
topics.
the idea. That's the idea.
Who is your nanodegree targeted at? What kind of people are you looking for, and which type of professionals would like really benefit from these topics?
I think first of all, in one way or another, we're all impacted by it. So
Absolutely.
I think it's sort of, again, with these different modules as well, so one module might be more relevant for a specific professional, but what we really see as a kind of our target group, obviously, there are different HR professionals who are working with these issues day to day. They're kind of in charge of implementing change in their organizations. But as Estonia, as a small country, a lot of these kind of a lot of our businesses are SMEs, where very often it is kind of executives who are tasked with thinking through, devising strategies to understand how to kind of reassess the way they organize work. And just in general, as a university, different graduate students who are kind of interested in issues related to labor market. Human capital today, is a hugely important topic. We're living in the age of the knowledge economy. And I think until now, business schools very often, the focus is on traditional forms of capital and how to kind of enhance them. But I think with this course, what we're trying to do is really make the business case that, every business leader needs to consider these issues, because your workforce is very often that what makes or breaks your company.
Very true, very true. Yeah. Tell me a little bit more about your team, because I'm assuming you're not doing this all by yourself, right? 5 modules
not.
would be a lot.
Yes.
So who are these people that are behind the courses?
I would not be able to tackle all these issues on my own, because I think what I'm very glad to have is this kind of fantastic team. In addition to me, there are 3 other lecturers who all come from slightly different backgrounds to kind of bring their own insights to it. So part of the course, which I would want to highlight, is actually going to be online. And the idea behind that is to really bring the best global knowledge to our students here, and to kind of bring in people who work with these issues day to day, but at the same time would understand the kind of local context here as well. So if needed, they kind of can customize the content to meet the local needs. So when it comes to Module 3, which is the diverse and inclusive organizations, we have Annika Gabel, who's a researcher here at Estonian Business School, but who's actually based in Australia. She's also affiliated with the University of Sydney Business School and Macquarie University, and she's a research manager at the Diversity Council Australia, which, works with organizations and businesses across Australia on very hands-on practices, how to introduce kind of changes to their organization. So she can really kind of bring this cutting-edge experience to our students here. But understandably, as she's in Australia, these lectures will be kind of handled online. And next, Silari Moolma, who will be kind of leading Module 5, which is which focuses on the individual level specifically. She's actually a University of Cambridge educated behavior scientist, so slightly different background to business school settings. And what she works on is kind of how to design and put into action different behavior change strategies at an individual, organizational, and societal level. So she has worked in an Estonian context. She has worked with the Ministry of Social Affairs here, especially in relation to precision medicine-based interventions. But she has also taught at National University of Singapore, and she leads research and consulting agency Behavior Design Global, which is based in New York City, and they work with different businesses on how to kind of introduce human-centered approaches. So I think she has this global experience. She has a different perspective, how to kind of introduce change at an individual level. So I think this is a great addition to more traditional business, know-how. But last but not least, I'm very happy to be joined by EBS's own Esther Eamois, who has years and years of a kind of experience teaching leadership and management. And she is leading the course on kind of future teams. And because this is something she works on a daily basis as well. She has had experience with, building up these healthcare companies in the Baltic region, including Vimeo telemedicine platform, where she works with remote teams globally on a day-to-day basis. So I think she can bring this kind of unique combination of kind of research background, of theoretical perspectives, with really kind of years and years of hands-on experience there. So I think, there is a great match there as well. And I will be teaching Module 1 and 2, which are more focusing on macro level issues, as I said before, and the regional. So my background is actually I'm an economic geographer and political economy, hence these topics. I'm currently a senior researcher here. I focus on labor migration, labor markets, global cities, and innovation centers in general. But I finished my PhD in University of Cambridge as well, where I looked at high-tech companies in Silicon Valley and the San Francisco Bay Area. So I can bring to the table years and years of working with different companies and governmental institutions on these topics in North America and Europe.
Wow, a very diverse team, I would say. You definitely...
I'm very happy with my team.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, very, very diverse. Very good team as well.
Yeah.
Did I understand it correctly that you will be both touching upon the specific context of Estonia, but also upon the wider international context? Your Nano will be touching both these areas?
Yes, absolutely. Obviously, when it comes to, again, specific topics, the global might be more relevant, local might be more relevant in another. But I think, because today, and especially with the labor market, we're seeing an increased degree of globalization. Remote teams, they have opened the entire world. So you can't really approach the future work just locally. And I think there is so much kind of interesting what you can learn from companies across the world. But I think it's very important to kind of customize them to a sort of local setting. And this is something, as part of the Nanodegree, what I really want to do is to kind of encourage students to take the step back, look at the bigger picture, but then kind of see how these changes really impact them. And one of the outputs of this course will be as well, all students will compile what we call interventions portfolio, where they essentially kind of customize hands-on interventions in the specific spheres of the modules to their individual situation and organization. And I think it's very important for them to kind of go away from this course with actually actionable steps. Because I think, all of us, we've been part of courses which are really interesting, but then you kind of go away and it's like, okay, I don't know what to do with it. So I think with this Nanodegree, this is what we're kind of trying to achieve as well. You can kind of look into these amazing examples you might find in like Singapore or the United States, but what does it mean to me? Because, if you're based in Estonia or Finland, the circumstances are very different.
Okay, so you're trying to tailor also towards practical skills that are relevant for the local situation.
Absolutely.
Before we wrap up, if our listeners are not yet convinced, what are the 3 key reasons why they should join Your Nano?
I mean, obviously, I'm slightly biased here, but in some way, I feel like there really isn't a more timely topic to address. Because I think, we've been talking about future work for years, but, this year, suddenly with the COVID-19 pandemic, it was kind of forced upon us overnight. So I think a lot of these issues that the course addresses, you kind of need to know them now. Let's take the example of remote work. World Economic Forum is estimating that even after the pandemic, 44% of workforce will remain working remotely. And I mean, the fact at the same time is many employers, many employees, we don't have the necessary skills to kind of cope with this. So I think this is the time to kind of invest in these skills and to kind of understand how to cope. I know it's a kind of old phrase now, the new normal, but in a way, it is the new normal. The other thing I would want to kind of point out is I think understanding future work is critical for companies to really remain competitive. And again, coming back to the point of like these interventions portfolio, on taking this time to understand how each individual, each company needs to adapt. It might mean automation to you. It might mean just kind of general diversification. You really need to think it through, because this is, this is what you need to remain competitive. And I think the final bit I would also like to stress is just the fact that, again, what I referred to briefly before, attracting talent is a critical factor for companies, but also for regions in general. So understanding what makes your talent, what makes you competitive for talent, how to retain talent, these are issues that ensure the longevity of your business.
Thank you very much, Ava. It was great having you on this podcast. I hope that everybody now understands what the future of work is and what it will bring to you if you come and join this Nano. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.